Now, could this be the most underrated Battlefield game in its franchise, or could it be the most hated? Well, Battlefield Hardline is a game that had mixed reactions, from some saying they loved it to some saying it's literally the worst Battlefield game ever made. Now, for me personally, I really enjoyed this game, and I believe it's probably, if not, the most underrated game in the franchise, and it probably deserved more love than it actually got. Now, when this game came out in March 2015, I was probably part of the small minority that actually liked this game. The large majority of people didn't like this game due to its cops and robbers theme, which they thought was straying away from the traditional, it's not a Battlefield game, as most people say. Now, while that may be true, it did offer a unique multiplayer experience due to it embracing its cops and robbers theme, from the motorcycle, cop cars, just normal cars and armored vehicles, while it did lack, I believe, some proper tanks, and I believe jets as well. Now, while these were different to the traditional Battlefield franchise vehicles, they still were effective when used well with a group of friends or just a group of general good teammates. There was, of course, still the class system back then, which is now currently a legacy feature, though it was switched up a little differently due to the cops and robbers theme. You only had specific guns for cops and robbers unless you, I believe, purchased a weapon license, which allowed you to use something, let's say, like the M416 on both sides. Now, your classes are the Operator class, which is basically the medic class with bandages and defibs to heal and revive teammates. Mechanic is the Engineer class, which can repair and damage vehicles, literally as easy as any other engineer could. The Enforcer is basically your support class, which, you know, has your usual ammo, and this time a riot shield, which at the time when I was playing it was a relatively fun gadget to use, while it was also extremely annoying to die to, and literally everyone running around with turtles on their backs. Basically, it made it kind of hard to shoot people in the back. And finally, then there is your Professional class, which is the Recon class, and that's equipped with, I believe, just snipers and your general spawn beacon and etc. But for me, the sniping in this game felt really inconsistent in terms of damage at range. Like, sometimes I was getting 2-3 hit markers sometimes, but they did tend to perform quite well at close range, and I feel like the bullet velocity was at a good level. But this is probably irrelevant, me saying this, because, you know, it's probably down to me being literally garbage at sniping as usual. Hardline also used a currency system, which you earned by basically playing the game and completing challenges and stuff like that. Then you used to use this to purchase pretty much anything from weapons, attachments and camos. I don't think level impacted on this, so you could most likely just buy the best gun straight away, which is, I think another thing people didn't like, but at the time I kind of enjoyed that. It took away that, you know, oh, this guy's a higher level than me, he's got an advantage. I just needed to have the money and then run a level playing field, which at the time I did enjoy. Now, onto the gunplay of Battlefield Hardline. It was quite, I'd say, generic. A lot of the guns felt almost samey, quite low recoil and not that much spread. A lot did feel laser beamy and were only really separated by appearance and rate of fire from the time I had playing it. Though it did actually make the guns quite fun to use. In terms of something that's a little more hardcore, it did fit the theme of the cops and robbers well, as a game that doesn't take itself quite too seriously, which for a Battlefield game I felt actually quite refreshing going back to playing this. Something that worked with its theme, which is a rarity these days, and something that just worked in general. I think the gunplay is probably more similar to something like Battlefield 5, minus the random recoil, if you needed something of a similar comparison. So I quite enjoyed the gunplay when I went back to it, and also at the time as well. The recoil probably could have been increased, I didn't mind it at all. Now onto the maps. The maps had that destruction that Battlefield was known for. The maps fitted the theme once again of the cops and robbers, from banks to mansions to skyscrapers to cities to like hotels, stuff like that. It worked really well in a game like this. There's also a lot of variety in the maps, with some being more open than others and some being more infantry focused. There's long lines of sights, there's open spaces, but there is cover as well, which is something that previous Battlefields like 2042 and some of Battlefield 5 have forgotten to add to their maps. Everything is chaos driven, they have multiple levels and layers to them, which, you know, adds to your chaos, which is what Battlefield is generally known for, and the maps are a big contributor to how good this game actually is. Now, one thing about this game that I don't have any gameplay of, and that's the campaign. Now, while this is similar to previous Battlefields, it's a more narrative driven campaign with the characters that you can connect to, which is something that Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 with their war stories kind of lacked in a sense, at least for me. I believe the campaign was probably a nice little add-on to a multiplayer shooter that Battlefield is generally known for, and to be honest, it could probably make the game worth it within itself, depending on how much you pay for the game and stuff like that. But I think it's probably up there as maybe one of the best Battlefield campaigns, but that's, like I said, that's a subjective opinion. But I believe the campaign was quite good just from the simple fact that it's all one narrative. Now, after mentioning all I did in this video, if Battlefield Hardline were released today, would it succeed? Personally, with its current theme of cops and robbers, I think it would struggle in terms of, I guess you could say, police brutality. Otherwise, I'd say it would succeed. People would probably literally tear this out of DICE's hands for a Battlefield that had such good gameplay in terms of maps and gunplay. If you were to bring its movement and its graphics up to date with modern standards, I honestly think this would be up there as probably one of the best Battlefields in the franchise. But that is something that is subjective. But I think a lot of people would actually enjoy this game with modern standards. And if it were remastered, I wouldn't be mad, and I'd honestly probably be happy, because this Battlefield had a lot of stuff that was Battlefield-esque apart from the theme. I think the one big downside, like I said, is the theme, and I think it's something that held this game back a large amount. But let me know what you think in the comments, whether you think Battlefield Hardline was an underrated Battlefield, or whether you literally think it's trash and it deserves to be literally deleted. But like I said, let me know what you think. Consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.